From director Paul Bartel comes essentially a lost film of his, and I think it might have been his final film, 1993's Shelf Life on Blu-ray from Liberation Hall. This is a film that I was able to see during the pandemic, very, very astutely programmed. During the pandemic, I don't remember exactly who it was, but it was a film society somewhere ran this unreleased film as a virtual screening. I think it was either very inexpensive or a free virtual screening, and it was a big deal because it was a Paul Bartel movie. If you don't know Paul Bartel, you would know his films Eating Raoul, Death Race 2000, Scenes from the Class Struggle in Beverly Hills. You would know him as the super square teacher from Death Race 2000, one of the stars of Eating Raoul. He's in Chopping Mall. He's a great presence on screen in any movie. He's like Dick Miller. Any movie is better if Paul Bartel is in it. He has a great brief section he briefly appears in Amazon Women on the Moon in the faux VD educational film as the doctor. Anyway, I saw this film during this virtual screening, and it was very cool. I had hooked the computer up to the big TV so we could watch a movie. It was during lockdown, so nobody could go out to the movies, and I really didn't like it. I think I finished it. I think I suffered my way through the end. I really didn't like it. And I got this Blu-ray to review, and I said, we're going to give this another shot. Maybe a second time around. Sometimes you don't like something because your expectations are a certain thing, and you think it's going to be one thing and it's not, and you're disappointed. So now I know what it is. Let me try this again. Didn't like it at all a second time, but some people really do. So I'm going to tell you all about it. So storyline goes a little something like this. It's 81 minutes. This is an all-region Blu-ray. So anywhere in the world, if you can import this Blu-ray, throw it into your player and it'll work, as long as you're throwing into your Blu-ray player and not your 8-track player, because if you do, you're going to have problems. So this stars O-Lan Jones, Andrea Stein, and Jim Turner, who some people might recognize. If you watched MTV in the late-ish 80s, mid to late 80s, they had this ongoing character in their interstitials. He was like a hippie guy called Randy of the Redwoods. That was Jim Turner. This started off as a play in LA. It absolutely is apparent from watching this that this was sort of like an LA underground play that probably worked really well on stage with an audience who was laughing and reacting as it goes. But unfortunately on film, it's just dead. It just sits there. I found it a completely unfunny, really annoying and grating, honestly, the over-the-top antics that go on screen that with a crowd in person live near you probably would work well, but on film just did not work for me. So the story goes a little something like this. In this film, by the way, there is one little thing. It is scanned from Paul Bartel's personal print. The extras say that the negative also exists, but might be restored one day. So this is a print that has a few nicks and scratches in it. Maybe isn't as bright and colorful, although it is colorful, as from the negative might be, but it looks pretty good. It looks like you're in the theater watching this movie after it's been out for a month, let's say. The story goes like this. It's a suburban family in 1963. They're sitting there, and it's very like kooky suburban family, mom, dad, 3 kids on the couch. They're watching TV. They see that Kennedy assassinated. Dad, who's also portrayed by Jim Turner, says, "That's it. We're going down to the fallout shelter. This is how it starts." And then we flash forward 30 years, and these kids are all now grown up. Their parents have long since passed away. They're living on the remnants of the storehouse of food that Dad had built up, and they have created their own bizarre world. Think like Mad Max or the kids in Thunderdome. They have these weird artifacts from the past and from all they knew of life up to the point of being, a few years old. And that's what they've crafted reality out of. They've got history books. They've got some entertainment. They occasionally can get a TV broadcast from somewhere on a very old TV. But overall, they have no adults to take them any farther than their parents did. And they're just basically adult children, essentially. So they have little sayings that they say and little rituals that they go through, and they sing little songs, and yeah, wasn't for me. So, and it's set over the course of a day, by the way. And I read reviews that said it's brilliant, it's fascinating, it's hilarious, it's terrifying. I didn't really get any of that out of this, but it was rediscovered, and it is something that has been played to audiences on the regular, and there are audiences who love it. So it really just could be B. Don't take that. If you want to see a Paul Bartel movie you've never seen, here it is. There's no other way to see this, and it looks pretty darn good. If there's ever a restoration for the negative, it's probably going to look amazing because it uses a lot of colored lighting in it at times that looks really good on this print, but probably will look even more dynamic, and probably a restoration from the negative will pull a little bit more detail out of the shadows. Again, this doesn't look bad at all. It's just one of those things where when you see and you've known enough big time, 2K, 4K scans and things like that from the negatives, you get to notice how something that always looked fine or really good, suddenly it can look a lot better if it's done that way. So again, really nothing against the look of this. There's some scratches here and there. There's some, near the real changes, there's a bit of speckling. I don't know how much action this print originally got, but it did get played for a film that never got released, or maybe it only played here and there, but it wasn't a formal release by a company. Like, it sounds like there's mention in the extras where Bartel, when he ran it, so it might have been ran a few times back then, but I'd never heard of it until now. Never had a home video release until now. So it's one of those movies that goes along and just kind of stops, which feels a little weird. It does, and I will say no more than that. The extras extras are really good. Again, if you are into this movie and the people who are in this movie, you're gonna be very pleased with this release. The extras include a commentary by O-Lan Jones, Andrea Stein, and Jim Turner, along with Philip Holohan and Alex. It looks like Mechanic, could be Mechanic, sorry. There is an American Cinematheque Q&A that was done virtually during the pandemic. It might have been attached to the screening that I saw with the cast and the writers via Zoom. That is 35 minutes long. There's a Q&A with Tina, Pam, and Scotty. These are the three main actors who were also the people who wrote the play. This is them in character, done in somebody's backyard in black and white recently in 2023, done as though they just got out of the fallout shelter and they're adjusting to life, and people are asking them questions. It's all sort of to say it's fiction is, of course it is. It's not an actual audience. It's like people that were gathered to film this little short. That is 9 minutes and shot in black and white. As I said, you get a new trailer that's a minute and a half. You get two teasers. One is 30 seconds and the other is 39 seconds. And then you get a clip that's a minute and a half. That's just a clip from the film with the logo at the end. So I think it must have been done for promotional purposes or something. If you want to see the package, that's what it looks like. Is that in focus? Is that not in focus? It's not in focus. Okay, well, there is a package. Sorry about that. I'm shooting this in such a way that I can't really show you very clearly, so squint along with me, won't you? It does have a reversible cover that is probably out of focus for you. A little sheet with information about it, and there you go. There's that cover. So sorry about that. It is a really good release for people who like it, and there is an audience who will probably love this. It just wasn't me. So available on Blu-ray from Liberation Hall is Paul Bartel's long lost. And I keep thinking about this, and I keep thinking about it in terms of that song, Street Life. So around the house when I've been talking about this film, I keep saying, hey, you want to watch Shelf Life? Ba-da-ba-ba. Shelf Life. Paul Bartel's Shelf Life.